Peace to all the political prisoners, the unjustly incarcerated, political and social activists, all who fight for freedom, justice, and equality for all against our nation's unjust prison system. My name is Ayyub Abdul-Alim, and I was born in Harlem, New York, a child of a Latino mother, a native of Puerto Rico, and an African-American father born in New York City. As a child of my parents, I was born into an indigenous Muslim community called the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood, also known as MIB. The Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood has been located in Harlem, New York for over 45 years on 113th Street in St. Nicholas. MIB is a community of 3 generations of American-born Muslims and has a rich, long history. Its red, black, and green flag over which read the words La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, which means there is no God but God and Muhammad is his messenger. This flag is the registered trademark of MIB and has been the symbol of its religious, political, and social movement. The influence the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood has in New York City due to its hard-earned status, context to many political and social movements, as well as its ties to the family of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, formerly known as Malcolm X, and Imam Jamil al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rat Brown, one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party movement, who is currently serving a life sentence due to our unjust legal system, has caused the FBI to put the mosque and its descendants on the FBI watch list. Growing up, I learned that being an American Black and Hispanic Muslim in our country was not going to be easy. The struggles of American Muslims dealing with racism, prejudices, the political and social injustices is a story in history that is often untold or spoken about. In the aftermath of the controversial attacks on the Twin Towers in New York City that has tragically killed and injured thousands of innocent Americans has added yet another challenge to being an American Muslim. The new challenges facing American Muslims, fueled by the political and national agendas of foreign Muslims, has added to the emerging of a new challenge for American Muslims in the 20th century in the form of the war on terror and national security. My parents moved, giving me the opportunity to grow up in Amherst, Massachusetts, where I received most of my education. In 2001, I had the pleasure of being one of the founding board members for the first registered mosque in Amherst. This pioneer mosque was called the Five College Mosque, which has been changed to the Hampshire Mosque under new board-elected members. I am also pleased to have attended and witnessed the growth of the groundbreaking construction of the Islamic Society of Western Mass, located in West Springfield, for the past 20 years. In November of 2006, I moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, with a personal vision, desire, and mission to create a visible Islamic community in the urban section of Springfield, where many Muslims live.
This call is from the Hampton County, Massachusetts Correctional Center.
To create a visible Islamic community in the urban section of Springfield where many Muslims live that would influence positive change and development. In January of 2007, I founded the Quran and Sunnah Community Center in one of 3 storefronts located at 683 through 693 State Street. The community center was open daily and provided counseling for community residents with drug addiction, gang violence, prostitution recovery, employment, housing, after-school tutoring, community dinners and events, as well as daily prayer service. As part of my negotiated lease agreement, I became the building manager of 23 apartments with a first option of refusal should the owner intend to sell. The agreement also included the use of all 3 attached storefronts, where in addition to the community center, I opened the only all-natural organic food grocery store in the urban section of Springfield called Nature's Garden, similar to Deals and Steals in Northampton, where I purchased wholesale from. I also sold natural and organic body care products, essential oils, and natural alcohol-free fragrance body oils. I opened 3 locations in Springfield, Holyoke Mall, and Amherst Carrot Shops. Lastly, I started a transportation company called Connections Transportation Service, providing rides to Massachusetts state prisons for family and loved ones of those incarcerated. My biggest challenge in establishing my vision was the fact that the building was the hub for over 15 years for the sale of drugs, guns, prostitution, and gang violence. Because the local Muslim community was against this location, I had very little support, if at all. Putting my trust in the Lord, I began to engage the tenants and neighborhood residents in my vision. My courage, diplomatic, direct straightforwardness, and respect I showed earned me the tenants and neighborhood residents' respect cooperation, and their willingness to have a non-violent power struggle over a building I now controlled. After only 1 year of having complete control of this building, it became a visible and positive change, free from all evil, destructive elements it once had. Without any use or reported use of force or violence, 90% of all the tenants were of Muslim families. By the end of the second year, the vision of a visible, Islamic, positive and productive community began to take its shape as it stood in the heart of the Westchester Square urban community. Between 2007 and 2011, I worked with the Hampden County Sheriff's Department, AISS, Jewish and Lutheran Family Services, assisting them with housing and employment for their members. The Quran and Sunnah Community Center had over 50 children attending an Islamic Sunday school. A program was started called Feed the Hungry, every Saturday providing at least 100 hot and cold meals to anyone who was hungry. It is in light of this that I am requesting all moral and social conscious American citizens, as well as those who aspire to become a citizen of this country, to take a moment and reflect upon how you would feel if you were made a suspect or target by our government for exercising your right to freedom of religion and being a political and social activist in our community, a victim of our government under the pretext of national security, kidnapped and held in prison on fabricated weapons charges, stripping you of your freedom and liberty. Your only way out of prison is to become an informant for government policing policies against your will. How would you feel if you learned that our government has been investigating and following you for over the past 15 years, yet there is not one official document that supports or even claims you were involved in any illegal activity or crime? How would you feel if your wife or husband was a paid FBI informant, an arranged, orchestrated marriage set up by the FBI to provide every possible detail of your life, that of your family as well as friends? The most ultimate, unjustified betrayal, an intrusive invasion of your expectation of privacy. How would you feel if your entire relationship was based on a lie? The partner you loved who seen you at your most vulnerable state was only doing their job. The child you and your partner conceived never had a chance to be born because your partner who said they loved you knew they never planned to stay. Everything about your relationship was orchestrated by the FBI, planning the day you would be put in jail. How would you feel if you have been in jail 2 years fighting for the prosecution to hand over exculpatory and discovery evidence, while still you have overwhelming evidence to support your innocence? Still, the forces against you insist on making sure you spend the next 15 years in prison. How would you feel if you have a police communications recording that says you were cleared of any weapons? The weapon you're charged with does not contain your fingerprints or DNA. The gun contains all its serial numbers for identification and is not reported stolen, yet our government conveniently claims they are unable to determine who the gun belongs to. Knowing there is still more evidence to prove your innocence, but the FBI, local police, and prosecutor refuse to hand it over to your defense. While the officers involved gave multiple and conflicting statements and testimony. Now imagine how you would feel if after all this, you spent the past 2 years in jail confined to a cell space of 7 by 11 feet, surrounded by 4 concrete walls with an airtight 4-inch by 3-foot window, just big enough to catch the sun rays as the sun passes by for the day. Imagine you living in this small confined space shared with a complete stranger, having to endure every bad habit, foul body odor, and witness every bowel movement. You are forced to eat all 3 meals in your confined shared space just 1 to 3 feet from where your toilet rests. The food you eat is the same every week all year round. How would you feel after you were taken from your family and friends? You were only allowed to see your family and loved ones for only 1 hour twice a week from behind a thick glass. A phone is set on both sides of this thick glass for your communication as you stare at your visit, wishing this was just a dream. Tears begin to roll down your face, unable to hear your loved one's natural voice saying, "I love you, I miss you, hang in there, or everything will be all right." A voice on the phone comes in informing your time is up. Your visit is over. You stand up, unable to touch or feel the comfort of your loved ones as they leave you behind. How would you feel if for 2 years you had to strip completely naked anytime prison guards ordered you to? Having to open your mouth, lift up your genitals, then turn around, lift up your feet, and bend over to spread your butt cheeks. Every time it reminds you of the humiliation, hardships endured by our ancestors, who are the slaves of our nation. At any given time, without any notice, you could be locked up in solitary confinement in a concrete cell for 23 hours a day, for months at a time, unjustified. Their only reason is pending investigation. Restricted from any movement, visits from loved ones, or access to the use of a phone. Your only privileged means of communication is by mail. Please imagine how you would feel if this unjustly became the condition of your life in the blink of an eye. While fighting for my freedom, I have gained the support of residents from the Pioneer Valley, as well as local organizations such as Arise for Social Justice, Justice for the Pioneer Valley, the Amherst branch of the NAACP, the American Civil Liberties Union, and many social media groups around the country, to mention a few. Now I am reaching out my hand to you to lend a hand and support these and other organizations in the fight for justice for Ayyub Abdul-Alim. Throughout our nation's history, change has come from the courage of the people. I throw my hands up with peace signs, fists up and salute. Written by Ayyub Abdul-Alim.
I hope things go right. Free to fight like a 50s night. A whole city for one life, for a whole nation, correct sight. Look blind, leading the blind, and we running out of time. 15 years, that's my fear. No, it really grinds my gears. Walking around without a care. Search out of thin air, huh? Damn right, it's a sad life. It's twisted karma sutras. Stick to karma and my sutras. If I wanna see a future, read surahs in my scriptures. Man, I hope I paint the picture as we yell like it or not. Hold Ayyub down. Fort Knox can't threaten me with the hole, cause my city shaped like a bowl. I've been living in a trap, but who got each other's backs? That's the only thing that matters when you get locked up like that and your wife ain't on your side. It's alright, bro, you can cry. Don't hold it all inside, even if you are inside. Prison is the only thing that can.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what